when he first started calling Paddy out, like it was like over a year ago, I thought it was kind of weird. I was like, dude, why are we obsessing over this guy? Like, you're your own man.
Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. Billy, International Fight Week, you were out there doing your thing. How was the fans? How was the whole experience over there?
Oh man, it was great, man. From the moment I got off the plane, there was people waiting there with like pictures of me to sign and cards. It was awesome, man. I felt like a real time celebrity. Going to the convention center, met so many cool people. And then we went to the Power Slap event, me and Matt Frevola. And then we went to the fights the next day. So it was just a really good week. We got some really good training in at Extreme Couture, at the PI. Shout out to the people at UFC Strike. We just ran into a bunch of people with the UFC Strike. They do like the UFC NFTs. They were super accommodating. They invited us to like their little lounge. We had, Matt. I know my boy Matt Frevola ate a ton of free food and free drinks, and we really enjoyed ourselves. So it was just a good week to kind of break up training camp a little bit, and we had a great time.
Was it difficult, since you are in the middle of training camp, watching everybody indulge in the food and especially the drinks?
Um, a little bit, but honestly, it was more as tempting as it was to drink and eat and do all that. It was more so just motivating, seeing how like the champions and like the top guys are treated. They're on a different level than where I'm at, so I'm trying to get to where they are. So it was more so motivational and inspiring to be disciplined and get to their level. Then I've been in this game for a long time. I know I could certainly eat or drink whatever I want, but then I might not get the results I want, or the weight cut might be way harder. So it was, of course, it would have been nice to be coming off a big win and to be able to indulge. But August 5th, I'm going to go out there and handle my business, and then I can indulge as much as I want after.
Without a doubt, man. And you mentioned some training in Vegas. Did you have just a small circle with you, or did you get to like work with some people out there?
Yeah, we got to when I went to Extreme Couture, they've always been super cool with me. Everyone there was super nice. I got some training with a bunch of people that I've known for a while. Especially my boy Julian Arosa, who I've known since the Ultimate Fighter back in the day. So I got some good wrestling rounds in with all of them. I got to talk to Coach Eric Nixick, who he's always been super cool with me too. Him and Dan Ige are coming off a huge win over my opponent, Damon Jackson. So I got to pick their brain a little bit. And then, of course, me and Matt Frevola, we got some good sparring in. We got some good weightlifting in. At the PI, I got a bunch of really good recovery sessions in. They the head girl in charge, Heather, she's incredible. I think she's one of the best physical therapists in the world, and they just take really good care of me. So it's always good going out to Vegas and just getting like I wish I could live out there. It'd be awesome, but I'm happy with my home here in Tampa. But it was really nice to get out there just for the week.
It must be so beneficial to be able to pick another coach's brain that is already faced and prepared for your upcoming opponent. How was
Yeah.
that, just getting to talk with them and having conversations about, because it's very cerebral.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coach Eric has been he's always been cool. We've always been really cool. And we've gotten some mitt work in before. We weren't able to get a private lesson in just because of both of our schedules were super busy. There was, a few hundred UFC fighters out there, and they got their own camp going on. But I got a chance to talk to him a few times. And it was one of those things that like he told me a lot of stuff that I already kind of assumed, and then he told me some other stuff that I was like, oh wow, that's really interesting, their perspective of it. And he's obviously one of the best coaches in the world. So anytime you get a chance to talk to a guy who's had Francis Ngannou, all these world champions. He works with Aljamain Sterling quite a bit, a bunch of other just high level guys. It's always good. I can learn so much from him and anyone on that level. So it's always a good time, and I'm all ears when I'm listening to guys like that.
Let's go back to the last fight. You got a crack at the top 15, win, lose, or draw. Every experience is a learning lesson. What was the takeaways from that fight?
Yeah, obviously there's a lot to learn from it. That was my second time losing to a guy in the top 15. I'm having a hard time cracking that case, but it just means I got to work harder. It was one of those things that my game plan was working perfectly. Like I was doing everything I wanted to do, but with a guy like Edson Barbosa, I repeated the same technique more than once. And when you're against a guy at that level who's the top, top notch striker, bad things can happen. So unfortunately, I got caught, and I think that's the reason why I wanted to get right back in there because it was one of those things like I got caught, but I felt like I didn't even really get a chance to fight because it was such a short fight. And so right after, I didn't have any like concussion symptoms. I didn't have any injuries or anything like that. So I just decided to, you know what, let's get right back into training camp. It just felt like I still have unfinished business. And so I just decided to take this fight right after, and I'm ready to get back in there.
What was Edson Barboza saying to you after the fight? Do you remember? Because he was like saying some things to you. I was wondering.
Yeah, during the time I was a little confused. I didn't even know what happened. He caught me with a really clean knee, obviously, and he was basically just saying, that they were studying me the whole training camp, and they were working those knees right up the middle, because I had a tendency to drop my head down, and he capitalized on it, and it's something that I noticed that I've done too, and even in that training camp. I remember going against someone and I shot in and they kneed me like right in the chest, basically the same exact play. And they told me like, "Oh, be careful with that because Edson's good at that." And it was just one of those things. I got caught up in the moment. I landed a good punch and I shot in, and next thing you know, the fight's over. You don't get a redo in this sport. And like I said, there's a lot to learn from it, and I've learned a lot from it. I'm just a lot more careful with where I put my head, and I'm trying to go back there and right my wrongs, and I'm gonna get some redemption in a couple weeks here.
Yeah.
Damon Jackson, he fought a ranked opponent, like you said, Dan Ige in his last fight. What is the implication, do you think, for this fight coming up?
Yeah, well, I think when they mentioned Damon Jackson, the fight just made sense. He lost to Dan Ige in the co-main event of a fight night, very similar to the same exact situation I'm in. So I think for this fight, it's like, just like most fights in the UFC, one of us are going to move up from it, one of us are going to move down from it, and we're both right on that edge of the top 15. So a win for me here puts me right back into that top 15 hunt. I think we both have 5 wins in the UFC as well. So that'll be a big step up for both of us. And for the loser, it pushes you way back down the rankings where you have a lot more work to do now to get in that top 15 position. So it's one of those fights. I think we're both right outside the top 15. We both just lost big co-main event spots. And we're going from co-main events to the prelim. So, we're obviously both slipping down. But I think we both have big opportunities here because huge performance from either one of us puts us right back into where we need to be.
Without a doubt. And, I'm glad that they didn't just throw you some contender series debutante. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you see that sometimes after
Yep.
certain fights, right? It's kind of, could it be demoralizing a little bit that if they gave you someone like that rather than a Damon Jackson who has almost 10 fights in the UFC?
Yeah, obviously. Putting us on the prelims, I think that's a little bit of like kind of motivation enough for both of us being in the UFC for this long and having, a decent amount of wins. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's still they're still putting us right into that striking range, and they know I can compete with anyone. I can compete with anyone with guys in the top 15. This guy obviously has a totally different style than what Edson Barbosa has, so he's got a lot of different types of weapons. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm glad it's not some debut guy or a guy coming off the contender series. But either way, I got a dangerous guy in front of me, and we've had a great training camp, and I'm just ready to get out there and handle business.
I spoke with Damon Jackson, and he told me that he had a torn pec in the fight against Dan Ige. What was the worst injury you fought with?
Oh, man. Every fight you go into there with something, and one that really sticks out to me that I was really worried about, I almost had to pull out of the fight. It wasn't necessarily the injury part, but right before the Gabe Benitez fight, I got a cut under this eye, and it was like 10 days before the fight, and it was in like the worst spot where it was like right over my eye. So like it was just, I went back and forth with my management team. We were discussing, should I pull out of the fight? They were thinking it might be a good idea too, because we knew it was going to open up right away. So that was one of the ones that, like, I was like, all right, man, this is really risky. And it turned out that he did open it up right away. I opened him up right away. But it ended up being a fight of the night. It was the most money I've ever made in a fight up until that point. So everything happens for a reason. So it worked out for me that time. I've gotten into the fight with a bunch of different injuries. I try not to talk about that obviously too much before the fights. But that was definitely one where I was really close to having to pull out before.
Yeah, when Damon Jackson was telling me about a torn pec, I'm thinking like torn pec is a pretty serious injury to be fighting with. Like you're not mobile like you're supposed to be, right? You can't really defend yourself.
Yeah, it's a bad one. That's one of those things that more people are gonna see him lose that fight than hear about the injury. But from being in this game for so long, and being out in Vegas and being at the PI, and seeing guys fight week going in there and getting worked on, you're never gonna go into a fight anywhere near 100%. And if you do, you're probably not going to have your timing down, and everything like that. So you're going to get beat up every training camp, and you just got to make those tough decisions, whether it's worth it to fight or not. The only fight I've ever pulled out in my life was the Bill Elgio fight, and it was a really bad leg injury. It was like right under my knee. Like I couldn't even walk on it for weeks, and I was trying to spar and hit mitts, and it was super painful, and I still wanted to fight, but I think it was a smarter choice not to take that one.
Yeah, definitely. I remember that. Now, in fighting, everybody thinks like you have one camp and, you make all these massive improvements, but really you make your improvements over many camps, right? So throughout like the last maybe 4 camps or 3 camps, are there any like tweaks or adjustments you've made where you notice like, hey man, I'm getting much better in this aspect?
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like going into this fight, I feel like, since the Alex Hernandez fight, I've stayed in the gym very consistent, and I remember talking to the like Daniel Cormier and Bisbing and Brendan Fitzgerald before the Barbosa fight, and I was telling them all this new stuff I've been working on, like all this stuff I wanted to do, and I really didn't get a chance to do a lot of it. So I'm taking a lot of this stuff. I feel like there's a lot of stuff I've really been working on that I haven't really been able to show, since I didn't really get much off that last fight. So there's a lot of stuff I've been working on, stuff that I can't really discuss now because it's going to give away a lot of my game plan. But there's a lot of stuff that I haven't been able to show in the UFC because of only getting a couple minutes in my last fight and then working on them for this fight. So people are going to see the best Billy Q in this fight. I feel really ready for this one, and well prepared for it.
Heading into this one, you get this, show like different layers, and it's gonna be fun, man. What are your expectations in this fight? What do you envision?
Yeah, I just expect, from that first bell, we're gonna be in each other's face. We're both gonna be throwing. We're both gonna be grappling. There's gonna be a lot of crazy scrambles, and he's one of those guys that I can't just go out there and try to like wear out. Like there was certain guys like Spike Carlisle, Jacob Kilborn, where I kind of knew I could go out there, and if I can make them sprint with me, I could just wear them out. As long as they don't finish me, I'm able to wear them out. But now we're getting to the point, you can't really use that strategy against everyone, where I'm not expecting to go out there and just wear them out. Now I got to use my technique. I got to be smart with my game plan, and go out there and find a finish, find a knockout, find a submission. And I'm really just going out there to make a statement. I feel like a lot of people are, you know, people will turn on you really quick. I had a lot of hype behind me after the Alex Hernandez fight, and then getting knocked out to Barbosa. I think a lot of people are writing me off in this fight. So I'm just really excited to go out there and make a statement, get a huge finish, and prove to people that was more of a fluke than me being a bad fighter.
I follow you on social media, and I always see you, advertising Once Upon a Coconut. Like, how good is that? Because I love coconut water, and there's so many different brands out there. How good is that one? Because you really love it. It's your sponsor.
Yeah, they're one of my sponsors. But not only that, they came to me last year around the Shane Burgos fight, early last year, and it's just delicious. It's not only it's a really tasty coconut water. Obviously, it's super healthy for you. I remember the Gracies used to talk about one of like the superfoods being coconut water, and I've always kind of used that. Especially how hot it is in Tampa right now. I'm crushing coconut waters, but not only how delicious they are, working with them and seeing how much they donate and give to charity. They give 10% of all their profits. We've done a bunch of giveaways with them. I've donated, close to $10,000 in these past 2 years, and that was stuff that I really want to get behind. Giving to other organizations, giving to charities, helping other people out. Because if I'm just fighting just to fight for myself, I don't want to look back and have it be like this selfish thing. So I've been trying to give back as much as I can, and they're a great company for all those different reasons. So I'm with One Spot of Coconut. Hopefully for the next 10 years, we're gonna keep making magic, and I'll keep supporting them as long as they support me.
Definitely, man. I love the charity stuff as well. One last thing before I let you go. You think Paddy the Baddy is gonna take that fight against Matt Frevola? I think he will, because Matt is ranked now, and how do you pass that up, right?
Yeah, I think the fight makes a lot more sense now. I've been training partners with Frevola for years, and when he first started calling Paddy out, like it was like over a year ago, I thought it was kind of weird. I was like, dude, why are we obsessing over this guy? Like, you're your own man. And at first I thought it was weird, but then like it grew on me. Like I think it's funny now that he's been just calling him out. My fight week in Vegas last year, they kept running into each other, and Frevola, like I was joking with Frevola, I'm like, bro, like leave the guy alone, you know what I mean? But now Frevola's knocked out his last 3 opponents. Paddy's on, a 4-fight UFC winning streak. Frevola's knocked out his last 3 opponents. He keeps calling them out on the microphone. And what people don't understand is, I think a lot of this has to do with me and Matt Frevola have been, when we first moved to Tampa around the same time, we both loved Barstool Sports. We both would go on Barstool and read their articles, and we just thought they were hilarious. And then eventually Barstool ends up signing Paddy, and we were longtime Stoolies, so we were all kind of like, come on, man, like you're gonna sign this guy? He doesn't even know what Barstool is. And Dave Portnoy's like a Northeast guy. We're both Northeast guys. So I think a lot of it has to do with that, and just how popular Paddy is now. So there's a lot of bad blood brewing up there. And as weird as I thought it was at first, I think it's hilarious now, and I'm all on board with Matt Frevola, Paddy the Baddy. I love it. I think it sells. Happy Dad's been getting behind Matt Frevola quite a bit. They've been taking care of him a little bit too. So now it's going to be like a Happy Dad versus Barstool type thing, and I'm all here for it now, man. I love it now. I think it's funny now.
Yeah, and the fans, that's what's important. The fans want that fight as well. You see them asking about it all the time. And Billy Q, Steamroller, that's a show on Barstool. I don't know why they don't even.
They messed up, man. Portnoy messed up. Shout out to my boy Robbie Fox. He's a Barstool guy. He's been my guy since day one. I love Robbie. I love all those guys over there at Barstool. But yeah, they didn't sign either of us, and they signed Paddy and Molly. So they'll get theirs, I think.
Yeah, for sure, man. August 5th, UFC Fight Night in Nashville. Billy Q is back in action. Thank you, Billy, for the time. All the best in the fight coming up, and all the best with the family and everything that's going on.
All right, I appreciate you, brother, man. Thanks for having me.